let's talk today about the difference between smooth and vellum paper. Now, in the vast majority of my tutorials, I recommend drawing on a type of paper called Bristol Board, and it does come in these two finishes. So this is all to do with the tooth of the paper, the texture of the paper. Vellum is slightly rough, it has a little bit more tooth to it. Smooth paper is exactly what it says on the tin, it is really nice and smooth. Now, I think the easiest thing to do here will be to draw the same picture twice on each types of paper, and then you'll be able to see how it looks when we compare them side by side. And I've specifically picked to use the same brand of paper, exactly the same paper except for the finish. This is the Strathmore 400 series. Now, if you would like to go through this drawing with me in a lot more detail, it is available as a Patreon tutorial. I have loads of different tutorials on my Patreon with a variety of different subjects. I also have tutorials on not only coloured pencils, but graphite pencils and watercolour pencils. For every tutorial, I include really in-depth instructions, all of the real-time footage, details of all of the colours I'll be using, sketch outlines, and of course the reference photo. I have some quite nice and quick drawings, and then some much longer, but generally more impressive drawings. Now, this set of macaroons that I'm drawing today is actually available also as a free tutorial. If you sign up to my newsletter, I will send you everything that you need to know to complete this, and it'll give you a little bit of an idea on what my Patreon courses are like. Check out the link in the description. Now, let's go through both of these drawings at the same time. In actuality, I started off by filming the drawing on the smooth paper, and then I completed the vellum drawing, but I did try where possible to go through the same process. My goal here was to try and make both of these drawings as similar as possible so that it makes it a bit easier to compare the results. Now, in terms of how it felt to actually put down the pencil on each of these types of paper, it's very much as I think you would expect. On the smooth paper, I had really good control over where the pencil was going. It wasn't getting caught up in any of the little dips, any of the tooth of the paper. And it was pretty easy to make the actual macaroons nice and smooth, just because it is such a smooth paper. For the vellum paper, it is much more textured, and it did feel that when I was putting it down, it just felt rougher. I would say that I am more used to drawing on smooth paper, and that generally is my preference, but to a certain extent that is because I'm more experienced doing that. That's the paper that I use. I think you could learn to get used to drawing on either one of these papers. So now that both of the drawings are finished, let's compare the results. And the first thing that I've noticed about both of these drawings is that one looks more vibrant than the other, I would say. The vellum paper, the drawing looks more vibrant. I wouldn't necessarily say it's more vibrant by a huge margin, but comparing them side by side, I do think that that shows. I'm also noticing that it looks more patchy because it does have more of that tooth to the paper. Those little white spots are just showing through. Now, it might be that if I kept building up the pencil further, I could eventually get rid of those white spots. But as I mentioned, I was trying to draw these as similarly as I could. I would say that I was able to get in more intricate detail on the smooth paper, just again because I could control a little bit better where the pencil was going, and it doesn't have as many of those spots, so it just looks more detailed. And finally, I would say both of the papers to a very small degree smudged. The pencil smudged on the paper, but not hugely. The vellum is a little bit more smudged than the smooth, but I think both clear up just fine with an eraser. So essentially, I think both of these papers are down to personal preference. I think if I wasn't comparing these drawings next to each other, I wouldn't notice that the vellum is more vibrant than the smooth, and I wouldn't notice all of the patchiness and the slightly less detailed drawing in the vellum compared to the smooth paper. I think more than anything, it comes down to, as I say, preference and also drawing style. You are able to build up more layers of the pencil on the vellum, I would say, but that doesn't mean that it's not possible to build up a good amount of layers on the smooth either. I highly recommend buying a small amount of each of these these papers and trying both of them to see if you have a preference more to one or the other. Now, thinking of layering, if you would like to learn more about layering coloured pencil, I do have a full in-depth video about layering to show you both how and why you should layer. I hope you found this video helpful and it's a little bit clearer what the difference is between smooth and vellum paper.